All right, kids, it is week 1 of the college football season, and I am so excited for a number of reasons, not the least of which is we finally get to start talking about playing ball, y'all. 12-team playoff. You know what time it is. If you watch this show, you are a very smart college football fan, and you understand the conversation here is one where we get into the weeds. If you do like the channel, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 100,000. That's my national championship. If you don't like the channel, subscribe. It costs you nothing. It is quite literally a button. It doesn't mess up your algorithm, none of those things. YouTube only wants to serve you the things that you like. And that play button means the world to me. September 10th, 2017 will be 7 years that I've been making this show, which can give you some perspective and also make you kind of sad. That said, I wanted to talk about Ohio State because I understand this game doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It's just one in which you want to see what you have. Now, not really a great opponent to see what you have, but you understand what I mean here because Ohio State has made headlines basically from the moment that the season ended, and it was very clear that Ryan Day was not doing what is at the top of his job description, which is beat Michigan, win the Big Ten championship, and win the national title. A loss to Missouri, no matter how underwhelming that performance was, no matter not having your starting quarterback, no Marvin Harrison Jr., you just don't want to have that. Going into this season, you also have a new athletic director in Ross Bjork, who has a reputation for being pretty quick on the trigger if you are not winning. This is a man who fired Jimbo Fisher and would rather pay out that man $80 million than have him continue to coach Texas A&M football, hires Mike Elko, and then takes a job at Ohio State. One of the things that he had said was he was impressed with the urgency for which Ryan Day is pursuing this season. And in a great feature, Jake Trotter, great college football reporter, great NFL reporter during this time too, also came up in Oklahoma working at the Oklahoma and covering OU. And I was in the same rooms with Jake. He's got a great feature just basically running down what many Buckeye fans, really college football fans, already know about Ohio State. But there are a couple of things in here that I wanted to pluck out. The $20 million number, I've already made that segment. A couple of years ago, Ryan Day was saying he thinks it needs $13 million to compete, to get into the portal, get what they need. This is the first year for which it felt like everybody was pulling in the same direction. Cardell Jones had told me that he thinks that the Columbus community makes about $1 billion in economic impact from Ohio State football games, to say nothing if Ohio State is winning. And that's what the program is at Ohio State. You have to win. And you have to win damn near every game you play. And I know this because Ryan Day is 53-8 since being a head coach. The only coach with a better winning percentage in football right now than him is Kirby Smart. The difference is Kirby Smart's got 2 national championships, okay? He also doesn't make a habit to losing to Florida. These are things that are going to bite you. So he's overhauled the staff. He handed play calling privileges to his buddy, Chip Kelly, who we think is a great play caller. He added Carlos Loughlin to the running back room after Tony Alford defected to Michigan, which I think we're going to talk about more and more as the season goes on. And they loaded up in the portal with absolute monsters. Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Downs lead this outstanding group of transfers. Going to have a starter at grad transfer starter in Will Howard, who really just got to operate the offense given all of the talent that is going to be around him. But I thought it was interesting to hear what Emeka Egbuka and Denzel Burke had to say going into the season, because that is informing how you should think about it, and frankly, them understanding what they should think about it. And I thought Emeka had a really great quote here that I'm going to give the full berth to. Nobody on this team has won a big game in their career at Ohio State. We just haven't done it. It sucks to say, but that's the reality. We don't really have anything that counts, anything that matters. He goes on, but this has been the hardest working team that I've been a part of, and we're also the most tight-knit group I've ever been a part of. We are truly locked in on getting our goals this year. Denzel Burke added to this. No gold pants for not beating Michigan, no national championship. That was a big part of why he decided he wanted to come back. And that's really been that group. Like Jack Sawyer also leading that group. A bunch of guys that wanted to come back because they don't have a set of gold pants. They don't have a win against Michigan. And with the doc coming out around Connor Stallions and getting all of this attention on what Michigan was able to do last year, sign stealing, cheating, you're looking at the Buckeyes going, the 2022 game stands out to me because that's the one for which Everybody's pointing up when there's a pass play. And there was one play in particular where Ohio State was running the ball, but Michigan sent a double safety blitz, which is insane unless you know that there's a run coming. All these things are coming, and you also know how much Ohio State hates Michigan, how much Michigan hates Ohio State, and what that rivalry means to them. And I've been of the opinion that Ryan Day has built this roster to win on November 30th and January 20th. I agree with Cardell when he says, I don't think anything less than a national championship is going to save Ryan Day. I think that's where we're at right now. It's not fair, but that's the job. That's what it means to be the head coach at Ohio State. Just ask John Cooper how this can go. If we think that you have the talent to go win, and then you don't go win. And they do have the talent to win. There have been NFL scout after NFL scout who has anonymously said, this is the most talented roster in all of football. This might be the most talented roster Ohio State has ever had going into the start of a season. And you should destroy everybody you play, given the guys you got on both sides of the ball. And I think there's a lot to that, man. There's pressure now. There's always been pressure, but anything less than perfection is going to be met with derision. That's just how this is going to go. Again, is it fair? No, it is not fair, but that is the sport that we play. College football is about perfection, and even perfection doesn't mean you get a chance to play for the national championship. Think about Florida State. Think about undefeated teams of the past. We will keep going on about what our eyes see or don't see and who's dominant and who is not. It's going to be difficult to kind of figure out who's really good through the first 4 weeks because we're going to have variants all over with the non-con schedule, but we're going to get a good look, right? This weekend, we got Georgia-Clemson. We are going to get a good look at which one of those programs is good. If Georgia stomps out Clemson, we probably got a beat on this, right? When LSU and USC play, we'll have that SEC versus USC battle that we want. But the one that is going to get my attention that's not prime time is this one. I want to see all these guys play. I want to see what Jeremiah Smith looks like. I want to see what Carnell Tate looks like. I want to see Will Howard operate the offense. I want to see Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, who gets the carries, who doesn't, and how quickly Ryan Day wants to pull back his starters because, remember, this is a very long football season. This is the longest football season that anybody's ever played in college. And while there are those clutching their pearls talking about, oh, college kids, man, the college kids are pros, dog. Like, they know how to take care of their bodies. They know how to go to class. At this level, the expectation is the same. The expectation is that you show up, you go fight, you go win. You do that 17 times, you walk out with a national championship. And for the Buckeyes, I'm thinking about it the same from the standpoint of what does the offense look like? Because Chip Kelly might be conservative, not going to show a lot. Why would you? I would be basic against Akron. I would be basic against everybody I don't have to be basic against. And then I would start to build around what do I see from the rest of the Big Ten, because I think this is what we're going to learn mostly about advanced scouting and who does it and who doesn't do it is who's good at knowing what you're going to run just by looking across the field, or who does it not matter for. So for some teams, I think it's helpful for you to know what they're going to run. Some teams, I just don't think it matters. If you got Jimmys and they got Joes, you should win. Full stop. I think it's players, not plays. I understand that there are folks that believe that if you know the play, you have an unfair advantage, or you at least have an advantage. And I'm saying you still got to block, you still got to tackle. I'm going to hand you my signs. I'm going to hand you my playbook, and I'm going to say, come get me. You know, like that's where I'm at with Ohio State. You ought to be able to sell out. You ought to be able to absolutely go after people, given the roster that you have, without fear of them knowing or not knowing a damn thing, right? But again, hell or high water, they got to win every game they play, and it starts with setting a tone against what is one of the worst college football programs in the country in Akron, but Ohio State does a really good job of playing teams from the state of Ohio, and Akron is a team from the state of Ohio. Would I rather see them play the Cincinnati Bengals? Yeah, I think that would be a lot more entertaining. But it is what it is, and you're going to go to WMU, then you got Marshall, and then finally we're going to get to a place where we start playing Big Ten games. But the first challenge for Ohio State really doesn't show up until Iowa, and they have routinely beat Iowa like a drum, no matter how good Phil Parker's defense has been. I understand that there are those who just want to get to the postseason already. But I really want to see this story. I want to see how this narrative plays, and I want to see Ryan Day can go wire to wire in my top 25, number 1 to number 1, January 28th.